60 Minutes Overtime.
The Last Mafioso is the story of Jimmy the Weasel Fratianno and his life and times in the Cosa Nostra, the mob. In his autobiography just published, Fratianno tells of his 30 savage, brutal, treacherous years in the secret society known as the Mafia, and of his last 3 years in the Witness Protection Program as one of the most valued of government witnesses against the mob. Fratianno was accepted for Mafia membership back in the 40s, he says, after he showed that he could bust heads with the best of them. He graduated to robbery and extortion, to pornography and loan sharking, and, of course, to murder.
Jimmy, who was the first person you killed?
Frankie Nicoli.
Where'd you kill him?
In my house.
How'd you kill him?
We strangled him.
In your own living room?
Right.
And then he dirtied your living room?
A little blood.
Yeah, a little blood and a little, discharge.
Right. How'd you know that?
Urine. Urine.
A little urine, yeah.
You smile when you think back about it.
Well, what are you going to do?
After you shoved a gun up against Tony Brancato's head, you were apparently proud of yourself because you say that you said, most guys just ain't got the stomach for it. They're squeamish. I can't figure them out. You remember killing Brancato?
Yes.
You take a look at this picture. Any emotion on seeing it? There's the two of them.
No.
Just a day's work.
Had to do it. I took a guy out of Vegas one time and killed him. Just took him out of the Desert Inn. You know, there's different ways, different methods.
You were a good killer.
I just had the talent to do things like that. I never made any mistakes.
Matter of some pride.
No, I just, some people are a little better than others. But I think it would bother me if I killed an innocent person.
What do you mean by an innocent person?
Well, you're an innocent person.
I'm glad to hear you you don't have designs.
Well, I mean, somebody innocent, you know, that is not involved in criminal activities.
One gets the impression that mobsters are really animals.
Well, they're not animals.
Well,
some are, probably.
Jimmy, they're brutal. They're vulgar.
Yes, they are.
They're uncaring. They're animals.
Well, I'd say they're brutal. I don't say they're vulgar, all of them. I don't think I'm vulgar.
Well, you're very benign, and you're smiling now. And
well,
but you killed 5 men.
Yeah.
You garroted 1 man in your living room.
I'd say I'm brutal, yeah. I admit that.
With us that evening was Ovid Damaris. Damaris has been writing about organized crime for years. He is also the author of Jimmy's story.
But you cannot judge Jimmy in terms of Harvard graduates or people in the coal mines. This was his world, the world he lived in. It's like the Godfather world, right?
It's the world he chose.
Well, chose or not, I mean, whatever it is. If you live in a mining town, you may choose to be a miner. But if you live in the ghetto, Italian ghetto of Cleveland, and all your friends are hoods, you have a chance you're going to grow up that way.
Jimmy fought his way through the ghetto streets of Cleveland, where a policeman first labeled him a weasel. He served 7 years for armed robbery, the first of almost 20 years he would spend in prison. Shortly after his first release, he moved to California, and in a ceremony marked by gun and sword, he became a made member of the Mafia.
There's a gun and a sword crossing one another. The boss says something in Italian. We all hold hands. Mano attaccat, that means you're tying each other's hands. They prick your finger with a sword or with a pin to draw blood. And you go around and meet everybody and you kiss them on the cheek. Now you're a made member.
What are the privileges, what are the responsibilities of a made member of the Cosa Nostra?
Well, most people get made because they want respect.
Respect from whom?
Well, respect when you go to another town. They send you to the boss, and they take you around. They take care of your hotel, and you meet a nice class of people.
You meet a nice class of people. You meet some other mobsters.
Well, you also meet nice people. I met George Raft. I met a lot of, years ago, Milton Berle, Ben Blue. I know many a times I went to Vegas where nobody could get a seat. I'd get a front seat because I was Jimmy Fratianno.
Because he was Jimmy Fratianno, he was also among the most wanted of racketeers. Law enforcement officials alternately threatened to throw the book at him or tried to turn him as an informant. Finally, in 1977, they succeeded. With a murder rap hanging over his head, Fratianno became the highest-ranking member of the mob to tell all since Joe Valachi. According to Organized Crime Strike Force attorneys and FBI agents, Fratianno's knowledge and testimony have been instrumental in convicting high-ranking mobsters in both New York and California. But there are others Fratianno has fingered, not mobsters. Fratianno says Sinatra wanted to meet him because Sinatra knew that Fratianno called the shots in California, and because he wanted a favor from Jimmy. Fratianno says Jilly Rizzo, Sinatra's good friend, told him Sinatra wanted something done about his former bodyguard, Banjo Celentano.
Jilly Rizzo told me that Frank wanted the legs broke of some guy that was writing a story about him in the paper or in the book.
And why would Sinatra want Celentano's
Because,
legs broken, allegedly?
Jilly told me that he put something in a book or was going to write a book or something like that.
Did you ever break his legs?
No, we couldn't find it.
When we contacted Rizzo, he would neither confirm nor deny that report. Sinatra and his representatives never responded to our inquiries. Fratianno asserts what has long been suspected but rarely talked about by a mafia insider, that the Teamsters Union has close ties to the mob.
Did the mob control Hoffa?
Sure did. They put him in there.
Then he moved on to current Teamster president Frank Fitzsimmons and his relationship with the mob.
If they want a favor, they get it. They don't actually, he does what he wants to do. But if they want something, they get it from him.
And if he doesn't give it to them, then what happens?
Well, he knows better, Mike. He'll give it to him.
Well, what's the clout they have? What can they do if he doesn't deliver?
Well, what'd they do to Hoffa because he tried to run? They told him not to. They killed him. It goes back, way back in the early 30s when it was started. Who got Hoffa in there as president? Joe Glimko got all the votes, made guy, right? Tony Pro, New York, East.
Tony Provenzano.
Right. St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago, all the bosses, they got key men.
And, says Fratianno, even today, high-ranking Teamster officials like Roy Williams have mafia contacts in key cities.
Roy Williams, it's Kansas City, Nick Savillo, Tony Giordano in St. Louis, and Joey Ayupa, the boss of Chicago. They go to Williams if they need a favor. In Detroit, it's they go direct to Fitzsimmons.
Who runs the Teamster organization in Cleveland?
Jackie Presser.
Who controls him?
The boss of the Cleveland family.
Who's that?
James Licavoli.
Jackie Presser, who holds a post on the Reagan transition team, is said to be heir apparent to Frank Fitzsimmons as head of the Teamsters. Incidentally, much of what Fratianno says about the Teamsters has been alleged or confirmed in federal wiretaps, documents, and court records. Gangster Mickey Cohen was among the nice class of people Jimmy Fratianno ran into in the late 40s. Through Mickey Cohen, Fratianno found himself at a Bel Air home where Cohen and his cronies were raising money for arms and ammunition for Palestine. Also present, Menachem Begin, who was then head of the Irgun.
Mickey introduced him to me as the head of the Irgun. He had a black band around his left arm.
Yeah.
And at that time, Mickey told me that he was on a lam. He was wanted for some killings or something. Mickey told me he was a lampster.
What was Mickey Cohen's part in all it?
The Haganah wanted to handle the money. And the Irgun wanted to handle it. So Mickey says, wait a minute, we're here for one thing, to get money for Jerusalem. Why don't we let the rabbi handle it? That's Mickey's man, okay?
Mickey's man.
That's right.
Mickey's rabbi.
Mickey's rabbi.
Yeah.
So the rabbi handled it. So, and all that, I think they raised $750,000. I heard it was $1 million.
What happened to the $750,000 or $1 million?
Mickey got it from the rabbi. They never sent no ammunition. I told him, I says, let's cut up this money. Well, he says, Jimmy, this is for the Jews. I said, what are you kidding? At that time, we went to the party. He donated 25. He kicked me to donate some money. I says, I ain't giving a quarter. I ain't got no money. So I donated 15.
15,000.
15,000. He had this woman that used to be head of the city editor for the Herald. And anything Mickey would tell her, she would write. So one day Mickey shows me, he says, look at the ship sunk with the arms. He had that put in there to show people that they had the arms, they were going to Jerusalem, and the ship sunk.
If it is possible for mafiosi to have any real friends, Chicago mobster John Rosselli was Jimmy Fratianno's friend. Rosselli originally proposed Jimmy for membership in the mob. There is little loyalty in the mafia. There is treachery. Their law is the survival of the fittest. Fratianno's best friend, John Rosselli, was murdered by the mob.
Let me show you a picture of John Rosselli. Here he is in a barrel. Any emotion about that, Jimmy?
Well, what could I tell you? I didn't feel too good when they killed him. But what can you do about it?
Did the mob actually have a contract with the CIA to assassinate Fidel Castro?
Johnny Rosselli did, yeah.
Johnny Rosselli?
Yeah.
Your friend, the fellow who proposed you for the mob, had a contract to do what? For whom? Under what circumstances? With whom?
Well, to kill Castro for the CIA.
Tell me what you know.
Well, all I know that Johnny told me that they were going to kill Castro for the government. And he said, Jesus, if we do this, we'll get all the favors we want.
Because of the explosive nature of his information, Jimmy Fratianno may be the most wanted man in America, according to U.S. government marshals charged with keeping Fratianno alive these last 3 years in their witness protection program. So they are taking no chances even with 60 Minutes. They arranged for us to meet at Washington's National Airport and took us for a ride through the Virginia countryside before arriving at a government safe house on the Potomac River. They asked that we disguise Fratianno, reducing the chances he'll be recognized when he leaves protective custody. Most of all, they and Jimmy fear mob retaliation.
They put a contract out on your life.
That's right.
You got scared, and the FBI said, Jimmy, you better get yourself into this program.
Well, no, I made my own mind up, Mike. They didn't force me to get into it. I had no choice.
At the recent trial of Funzi Thierry in New York, mobster Thierry, you told the court this. You said you have two choices. You tell the truth and die, or you lie and stay alive.
That's right.
Now, this is as far as the mob is concerned, but how do we know that you're telling the truth now?
Well, you've got to take my word for it.
But you're the fellow who just said you tell the truth and die, you lie and stay alive.
I don't lie now. Since I turned with the government, everything I told them is the truth.
When did you suddenly get religion and we know that you tell the truth?
Well, what benefit would I get in lying?
You'd come on television and you'd tell some lies, which are entertaining, and that hypes the sale of your book.
I wouldn't do that, Mike.
There's a word that's important here, immunity. It's very important in this case, where he can say anything he wants to. He can say he murdered 50 people if he wants to, and he's got immunity.
Providing I tell the truth.
But if you're caught in a lie...
That's it.
They can try me on everything. Before, I had to lie to stay alive. Now, I have to tell the truth.
I take it that most of you and your brothers in the Cosa Nostra were born and remain Roman Catholics, right?
I'd say most of them, yes.
How do they square a life of crime, dedicated to crime, with that religious affiliation?
Well, they're hypocrites like I am. Don't go to church. Don't confess your sins. Although we're still Roman Catholics.
I get the impression that you haven't gotten a lot out of your life. Am I wrong?
You're right.
Got any money?
No.
Got any reputation?
Bad.
Got the admiration of anybody?
No.
Where do you go from here, Jimmy?
I don't know. I really don't know.